Good morning, friends. First video in a little bit. I got busy towards the end of my time in New York, and when I finished, my voice was quite hoarse from screaming at my meta dance party. So anyway, we're back. I'll be making some more videos in the coming days, and I wanted to talk about something that I love about my pilgrimage, which is that I get to live in chapters. Each stage of my pilgrimage is kind of a built-in chapter where it's like, oh, I'm here for a month, or I'm here for 6 weeks, or I'm here for 2 weeks or something. And it marks a clear before and after that I'm in a specific location. And I love that. Of course, I write fiction now, and I read a lot of fiction, read novels, watch a lot of movies, watch TV shows. And a core concept in fiction is sort of scenes or chapters or acts where there's these dividers of things that happen to the protagonists and the characters and the world. And there's major events that happen in certain spans of time. And that is how fiction works, but it's kind of useful to see the story of one's own life in similar chapters or arcs or acts. And I love thinking about my own life this way. I love thinking about other people's lives this way, both in the present, but also in the past and in the future as well. Questions like, what is this current chapter of my life about? And what was that chapter, the most recent chapter, about? Or if I look back on it now, what was that chapter that I had from 2021 to 2022 about, or 2022 to 2023? And of course, when you demarcate the chapters is a little bit arbitrary because, it's not actually the same as living in a novel where there's clear chapters and acts and all of that. But you kind of get to decide how to relate to your own story of your life and what a beginning is and what an end is and what the themes are. It's like, yeah, when I was 16, I was really investigating what it meant to be me and what I cared about, and that looked like this, and I had to learn this lesson, and that sort of thing. And reflecting on your past and your present and your future in terms of these chapters, well, it's been so useful to me personally, and also for understanding each other, understanding other people. Of course, I love to ask people on my podcast, what's your life story? What happened to you? And often, naturally, there are very clear chapters. It's like, oh, there's my childhood chapter, then there was the high school chapter, and then the college chapter, and then there was the bumming around in Asia chapter, or whatever it is. That was me for a bit with Ulysses. And yeah, I think we kind of naturally think in these terms, and leaning into that, thinking about our own life, other people's lives in terms of chapters is just such a clarifying frame. It's just a very powerful frame where we can ask, what did I learn? What were the challenges? What were the opportunities? What changed in that time? How is it different now? Where am I trying to go? What would I like the next chapter of my life to be? You can ask questions like, if I were the protagonist of a novel, what would be obvious to the reader but not to me? What's happening to the protagonist at this time? What's the lesson that they're needing to learn? And focusing on that, learning from that. It's basically an incredibly powerful self-reflective tool, and also, if we're trying to understand other people, it's a powerful tool for understanding others and learning what their life is like. And that's something I love about my pilgrimage, again, is that there's just these built-in chapters. If I'm somewhere for 2 months, I was just in New York for 7 weeks, for example. I went upstate a couple of times, but I was in New York City and New York State for 7 weeks, and there was just very clear things that happened during that chapter, and I could reflect, oh, what changed here? And what were the major wins? And what were the major challenges? And what lessons did I learn? How did I grow? And what shifted because of this? And then also set intentions for the new chapter. What am I trying to do in this coming chapter? What would I like to be the priority? And how do I want to focus my time and my energy and my intentions? And steering towards that. You can kind of be intentional with how you use your time. And often there's sort of, as with any story, there's like the thing you think you're getting into, and then there's what actually happens and what life has in store for you. But to some extent, we have the free will to decide, oh, I want this chapter of my life to be about this, and I'm going to focus on this thing and grow through that. There's often sort of external wins also, or external challenges, and then internal wins or challenges, and reflecting on those, like what happened externally, who did I meet, what connections did I make or deepen or whatever, and then internally, like what emotions was I feeling, what lessons did I learn, what virtues did I cultivate, what obstacles did I run into. Just incredibly powerful tool for both reflection and intention setting, and also understanding other people. And I love that on my pilgrimage, I have these built-in chapters where, I don't know, it's sort of, I think about a lot about time dilation, and that's the tendency for like time to expand or contract, and our sense of time to become faster or slower. And novelty tends to slow our sense of time, or the rate at which time transpires. And so, you know, if you're in the same place for months and years, it's easy for your sense of time to speed up because there's not much novelty happening. So something I love about my pilgrimage is that it sort of extends my sense of time and expands it, and there's almost always novelty and new things happening. And so it means that I subjectively, phenomenologically live a fuller life because there's just more happening and new things are happening all the time. And so I love that. I really love that. But in any case, even if you're not on a pilgrimage like me, you can start thinking about your life in chapters and look at your past in terms of which chapters you had and what the challenges were and what the lessons were and how you grew and what changed. And you can look at your current life, like what's happening in this chapter, and almost step outside of yourself and look at yourself as a protagonist in a story, and look ahead and be like, what chapters are coming? Where do I see this character developing? Where do I want them to go? And become that. And it's also, of course, useful for looking at other people's lives, like, oh, what chapter of life is my best friend in? And or someone I really care about, or, you know, my coworker, like what's this chapter of their life about? And meeting them on those terms, like connecting to them on those terms, and seeing the plot of their life and relating to them from there, like, oh, you know, they're getting married and they're going to transition into having kids now and building a home, and that's a specific chapter or arc of life. And how am I going to relate to that? How can I support them in that? How can I help them to grow? Whatever it is, of course, different chapters are about different things. But anyway, I love thinking in these terms for myself and about other people, and maybe you will too.